Why life really begins at 40. Embrace the journey of awakening. Hello and welcome to Buddhist Motivation. If you're in your 40s or approaching this milestone, you're in the right place. Today, we'll explore how life at 40 isn't the end of something, but the beginning of a profound transformation. Why life really begins at 40. That's the powerful truth I want to share with you today. The path to self-discovery, inner peace, and spiritual awakening often reaches its deepest understanding after the age of 40. When all the experiences and lessons of life finally come together to lead us toward our true calling. At this age, the challenges and struggles of the past begin to make sense, guiding us toward clarity and wisdom. This is the moment when we can align with our soul's purpose and embrace the journey of awakening fully. As a Buddhist, I resonate deeply with this perspective. The Buddha teaches us that true awakening comes not from external achievements, but from an inner transformation that happens over time. And I believe, in my personal experience, that this shift at 40 is not just significant but life-altering. Before we dive into today's story, I would really appreciate it if you could give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me create more content and reach more people who need this message of empowerment. Also, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Hearing your experiences and perspectives motivates me to continue bringing you more inspiring videos. Let's explore together the awakening that begins at 40. The journey of awakening, life at 40 and beyond. Life is an extraordinary journey of self-discovery, an intricate dance of experiences that shape who we are. We navigate through various phases, each one offering us lessons and opportunities for growth. However, it is often at the age of 40 that we begin to truly understand the depth of this journey. It's a time when the trials and tribulations of earlier years transform into a deeper sense of purpose, a shift toward higher consciousness, and the emergence of profound inner wisdom. At this point in life, we look back at the twists and turns, the challenges and triumphs, and realize that every moment has been part of a larger plan. The struggles we once feared, the pain we endured, and the setbacks we encountered were never mistakes. They were experiences meant to shape and guide us toward this moment of clarity. From a Buddhist perspective, true awakening doesn't come in the early years of life, when society often pressures us to achieve or succeed. During our youth, we are too caught up in the pursuit of external validation, too distracted by the world around us to hear the deeper voice within. This is the voice of our soul calling us toward purpose, growth, and spiritual fulfillment. But at 40, something shifts. It's as if the fog of confusion that once clouded our perception begins to lift, and the wisdom we've accumulated through our own personal experiences starts to shine brightly, guiding us forward. In Buddhism, this is often referred to as the awakening of the true self, the moment when we move beyond worldly distractions and connect to the deeper essence of who we are. When I reflect on this period in my own life, I realize that the struggles I faced were not random. They were part of the divine design, the universe preparing me for something greater. Buddhism teaches us that nothing happens by accident. Every experience, every challenge is placed before us for a reason, leading us toward greater understanding and alignment with our true calling. There are no coincidences in life, everything unfolds according to divine timing. And at 40, we become more attuned to that rhythm. Looking back, I can see how I spent much of my 20s and 30s seeking approval and validation from the world around me. I defined myself by my achievements, the titles I held, the possessions I accumulated. I was caught in a cycle of doing, thinking that my worth was determined by external accomplishments. I struggled to hear the still, quiet voice within. The voice that told me I was more than the sum of my achievements. Then, at 40, something shifted. It wasn't a sudden epiphany, but rather a gradual realization. I no longer needed to prove myself to anyone. I began to see that true peace comes not from external validation, but from inner alignment and self-acceptance. I realized that I had been given all the tools I needed through the trials, the successes, the failures to walk my own unique path with confidence. And at that moment, I felt a deep resonance of Buddhist teachings reminding me to let go, to release the need for external approval, and trust the flow of the universe. This shift has been nothing short of liberating. It has allowed me to step into a new phase of life, one where I no longer chase external markers of success, but instead focus on living authentically, embracing my inner wisdom, and following the path that feels true to my soul. And this, I believe, is the most transformative period of life, one where the wisdom we've gained throughout our experiences finally has the space to blossom fully, guiding us to become who we were always meant to be. If you're at the threshold of 40, or already there, know that this is your time to fully embrace the journey of awakening. It's a time to step into your true power, to align with your soul's calling, and to live authentically, free from the constraints of societal expectations. Trust that everything you've been through has led you to this moment, and that the best chapters of your life are yet to come. The art of letting go, embracing change with wisdom. In our younger years, life often feels like a battle, a constant struggle to hold on to things that seem vital to our identity and well-being. We cling to relationships that no longer nurture us, to material possessions that define our worth, to beliefs that no longer serve our highest good, and to outdated versions of ourselves. We fear that letting go will lead to emptiness, loss, or even failure. However, as I've grown, particularly with the wisdom I've gained through my studies of Buddhism, I've come to understand that attachment is, in fact, the root of suffering. The Buddha teaches that attachment, whether to people, possessions, or even our own ideas of who we should be, binds us to a cycle of dissatisfaction. Holding on to these attachments prevents us from embracing change and growing into the fuller version of ourselves. Buddhism reveals a profound truth: everything is impermanent. Our circumstances, our relationships, even our sense of self, nothing remains static. The very nature of life is change. And while change can feel uncomfortable, it is essential for growth. The act of letting go, then, is not about losing something, but about creating space for something greater, something that aligns more closely with who we are becoming. I recall a period in my life when I held on tightly to a job that, deep down, I knew no longer served me. I stayed because it was comfortable, familiar, and it provided a sense of security. But over time, I began to feel trapped. My passion was fading, and my spirit felt stifled. Despite the stability it offered, I realized that my heart wasn't in it anymore. I had outgrown the job, but I feared letting go. The idea of losing it seemed daunting. But one day, I made the decision to step away. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't immediate. But once I released my attachment to that job, I opened myself up to new opportunities, ones that were aligned with my deeper purpose and passions. This is the wisdom that Buddhism teaches us. That releasing attachments is not about deprivation, but about transformation. Just like a flower must let go of its seed in order to bloom, we must let go of what no longer serves us in order to create the space necessary for new growth and greater fulfillment. Letting go is not a decision made overnight. It is a process, a lesson learned over years of disappointments, introspection, and the accumulation of wisdom that only time can bring. When I was younger, I resisted change, afraid of what it might bring. But now, as I approach 40, I've learned that the act of release is a powerful act of self-love. It is an acknowledgement that I deserve to live in alignment with my true self. And by letting go of the things, relationships, and beliefs that weigh me down, I make room for inner peace, joy, and abundance to flow freely into my life. In Buddhism, we also learn that true freedom comes not from accumulating more, but from shedding what holds us back. It is the shedding of excess baggage, whether physical or emotional, that allows us to walk through life with lightness and clarity. Releasing attachments, I have found, is an act of reclaiming your personal power. It is through letting go that we open ourselves to the possibility of living authentically and fearlessly, without the constraints of the past. Time, trusting divine timing. For much of my life, I lived under the constant pressure of time. There was an invisible clock ticking in the background, urging me to reach certain milestones by specific ages, to achieve success in a predetermined order. Society often told me when I should have accomplished certain things: graduating, building a career, finding stability, and eventually, settling down. The constant push to meet these expectations created an underlying anxiety, dissatisfaction, and frustration. The idea that I had to fit my life into a specific timeline made me feel as though I was always behind or not doing enough. In the pursuit of these milestones, I found myself racing against time, never feeling fully satisfied with where I was in the moment. But as I entered my 40s, I began to experience a profound shift. I realized that time is not something to fear or rush. It is not a rigid force demanding that we meet deadlines. Time, as I now see it, is a divine force, unfolding exactly as it should, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, but always in harmony with the flow of life. In Buddhism, we talk about the concept of right timing or divine timing. The Buddha teaches that everything in life happens at the right time, and that the universe unfolds in its own natural rhythm. This understanding transformed how I began to approach life's challenges. I no longer saw the passing of time as an enemy to be defeated. Instead, I learned to trust that everything was happening at the perfect moment, and that the struggles of my past, the delays, and even the detours were part of my journey leading me to this moment of awakening. There was a time when I obsessed over the shoulds of life, the milestones I thought I had to meet by a certain age. I chased after success, tried to meet external expectations, and constantly worried about falling behind. But as I grew older, especially as I approached 40, I began to let go of this urgency. I realized that life was not a race and that the universe had its own plan for me. I no longer felt like I was playing catch up with life. Instead, I started to embrace each day as it came, trusting that I was exactly where I needed to be. It was liberating to stop chasing after success on a timeline that wasn't my own. I learned to be present, appreciate the journey, and to trust that each experience, each challenge, and even each setback had a purpose. Every step I had taken, even the ones that seemed like failures at the time, had led me to the person I am today. The lessons I learned along the way were meant to prepare me for this exact moment, this awakening. Buddhist wisdom. In Buddhism, time is often viewed not as a linear progression, but as a cycle, a continuous unfolding of cause and effect. The Buddha teaches that everything is connected, and that each moment is part of a greater whole. The concept of right timing is about understanding that our lives are unfolding according to a natural flow, and that each experience, whether we perceive it as good or bad, is preparing us for what comes next. At 40, I no longer feel the need to rush through life or force things to happen. I trust that the universe is guiding me in ways I may not always understand, but that are always in my highest good. This shift has given me a sense of peace, an acceptance that I was never able to achieve when I was constantly chasing after a version of success that wasn't mine to claim. Instead, I've learned to rest in the present moment, knowing that I am exactly where I am supposed to be, at the right time. Discovering your true purpose, connecting the dots. In my younger years, I often found myself questioning my purpose. I felt the weight of uncertainty hanging over me, as if I were searching for something that remained just out of reach. I explored different paths, dabbled in various careers, and sought validation in external achievements, thinking that these would give me the sense of fulfillment I craved. Yet, despite my efforts, something always felt missing. No matter how much success I achieved, or how many milestones I reached, there was a lingering sense of emptiness, as though I was not fully aligned with my deeper calling. This period of searching, however, was not in vain. Looking back, I can see that every step I took, every detour, and even every setback was gradually refining me for something greater. I was building the foundation for a life that was more aligned with my true purpose, one that I couldn't fully see at the time, but was unfolding slowly as I gained more wisdom and experience. As I approached 40, the pieces of the puzzle started to fit together. All the challenges, hardships, and obstacles I had faced were not random. They were guiding me toward my true path. I began to understand that every experience, no matter how difficult or painful, was shaping me in preparation for a purpose far greater than I had originally imagined. Key skills I had developed, the lessons I had learned, and the wisdom I had gained were not just for the sake of accomplishment. They were all stepping stones leading me to my higher calling. In Buddhism, we are taught that life is a path of gradual awakening, a journey that unfolds over time. The Buddha emphasizes that everything happens for a reason, and that each experience, whether positive or negative, contributes to our spiritual growth. I now see that the purpose I was searching for was not something to be found externally, but something that had always been within me, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. At 40, I finally understand that all my experiences were preparing me for this moment of clarity. What once seemed like a meandering journey now appears as a carefully orchestrated path, leading me toward my true purpose. The wisdom of the Buddha teaches us that life is not about achieving external goals, but about discovering the deeper meaning within ourselves, connecting to our true nature, and living in alignment with that truth. In this process, we begin to uncover our true purpose, not as a destination to be reached, but as a continuous unfolding of who we are meant to become. No longer seeking validation, embracing authenticity. For much of my life, I sought approval from others, family, friends, colleagues, and society at large. I shaped my decisions, my actions, and even my values around what I believed others expected of me. I convinced myself that in order to be worthy, I needed to fit into the molds created by those around me. Whether it was the approval of my parents, the acceptance of my peers, or the recognition of society, I spent years chasing external validation, believing it would give me a sense of purpose and belonging. This constant need for approval kept me trapped in cycles of doubt, fear, and insecurity. The validation I sought from others was fleeting, never quite satisfying, and often leaving me feeling more empty than fulfilled. No matter how much praise I received or how many accolades I earned, something inside me always felt incomplete. I realized that no matter how much external validation I gathered, it never truly fulfilled me. I was living someone else's version of success, not my own. But as I approached 40, something began to shift. I realized that true validation doesn't come from others, it comes from within. It is an internal process, rooted in self-acceptance, self-love, and trust in one's own journey. The Buddha teaches us that we must rely on our inner wisdom, that we must trust ourselves and our own perceptions of what is right. This realization has been one of the most liberating experiences of my life. True self-validation is not about ignoring the opinions of others. It's about knowing who you are and standing firm in your truth, regardless of external pressures. The wisdom of the Buddha encourages us to be mindful of our thoughts, to be aware of our inner voice, and to make choices aligned with our true selves. It is only when we live authentically, without fear of judgment or the need to justify ourselves, that we can experience true peace and freedom. Buddhism teaches us the importance of cultivating self-awareness and mindfulness. When we cultivate these qualities, we begin to hear and trust our inner voice, the voice of our true self. The Buddha speaks of right understanding and right intention as integral components of the path to enlightenment. To live authentically, we must first understand ourselves, our desires, our motivations, and our deepest truths. In letting go of external validation, we begin to free ourselves from the illusion that we need others' approval to be worthy. The Buddhist teachings on self-reliance and self-realization remind us that true peace comes not from the acceptance of others, but from the acceptance of ourselves. When we are true to ourselves, we align with the divine truth that resides within each of us. Spiritual awakening, a deeper connection to the divine. At 40, my spiritual journey has deepened in ways I never imagined. In my younger years, I was often distracted by the hustle and bustle of the material world, the pursuit of success, possessions, and external validation. These distractions kept me focused on the outer world, constantly seeking answers in external circumstances, people, and experiences. But as I entered my 40s, a shift occurred. The noise of the material world began to fade, and I found myself turning inward, attuned to a deeper truth that I had neglected for so long. Meditation and prayer have become essential practices in my daily life, grounding me and helping me connect to the divine. Through these practices, I have come to realize that true answers do not lie outside of me, but within. The wisdom I once sought from others, or from external sources, is now found in the quiet space of my mind and heart. I have learned to trust the wisdom that arises from within, trusting that the universe, in all its interconnectedness, is guiding me along the right path. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of meditation and mindfulness as essential practices on the path to enlightenment. The Buddha teaches that through meditation, we can transcend the distractions of the mind and connect with the deeper, unchanging truths of existence. Meditation helps us quiet the constant chatter of the ego, allowing us to experience a sense of peace and clarity. The more I meditate, the more I feel a profound sense of oneness with all beings, a realization that the divine is not separate from me, but is an intrinsic part of who I am. Through this spiritual awakening, I have come to understand that everything is interconnected. The boundaries that once seemed to separate me from the world around me and from the divine are dissolving. I feel a deep sense of connection to all living things, the trees, the animals, the people I meet. The more I meditate, the more I sense the unity of all existence. This awareness brings with it a sense of peace, knowing that I am exactly where I need to be on my journey. The more I meditate, the clearer my path becomes. When I first began my spiritual journey, I was searching for something outside of myself, something that would provide all the answers. But now, I realize that the answers were always within me. As I sit in stillness and let my mind settle, I feel a profound connection to the divine. Every breath I take feels like a reminder that I am one with the universe. This connection to the divine is not something abstract or distant, but something that is immediate and tangible. The more I meditate, the more I feel the presence of the divine in every moment of my life. Whether I am walking in nature, listening to a piece of music, or even sitting in silence, I feel this connection deepen. It is a quiet, gentle presence that fills my heart with peace and purpose. In Buddhism, we learn that the ultimate goal is to awaken to the true nature of reality, to see beyond the illusion of separation, and recognize the interconnectedness of all things. As I meditate more regularly, I find myself coming closer to this realization. I trust the wisdom that emerges from this space of stillness, and I know that it is guiding me toward my highest purpose. Energy and boundaries, protecting your peace. By 40, I have learned the importance of managing my energy. In my younger years, I often felt drained by negative people and situations, not fully realizing how much of my energy I was giving away. I would find myself in toxic environments, surrounded by people who were either draining me emotionally, or who didn't align with my true values. At the time, I didn't know how to protect my peace, and I often found myself feeling exhausted, mentally and physically. But as I've grown, particularly through my studies in Buddhism, I have learned the importance of discernment in all areas of life. I've learned to recognize the relationships, activities, and environments that nourish my spirit and bring me peace, as well as those that drain my energy and hinder my growth. The Buddha teaches us the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive influences, whether they are people, practices, or environments, because they directly impact our mental and emotional state. In Buddhism, there is a concept known as right association, which refers to the idea of surrounding ourselves with people and influences that encourage our spiritual growth and well-being. It is said that a wise person associates with those who are virtuous and positive because they help us cultivate good qualities and deeper peace. By contrast, negative environments and relationships that drain our energy can keep us stuck in unhealthy patterns and prevent us from reaching our true potential. Now, at 40, I've become much more selective about where I invest my time and energy. I've realized that my energy is precious, and I no longer waste it on people or situations that do not align with my highest self. I actively choose to protect my peace by setting clear boundaries, whether it's stepping away from toxic relationships, limiting my exposure to negative environments, or being mindful of the activities I engage in. This practice of protecting my energy has been liberating, allowing me to create a reality that supports my growth and evolution. Buddhist wisdom. In Buddhism, we are taught that everything is interconnected, and that energy is an important aspect of our existence. The Buddha reminds us that our thoughts, words, and actions have an impact not just on ourselves, but on those around us as well. By consciously choosing to protect our energy, we are not only fostering our own well-being, but we are also contributing to the well-being of others. The Buddha speaks of right effort, which refers to the practice of cultivating positive qualities and avoiding those that lead to suffering. Part of this effort involves choosing the right associations, the right influences, and the right environments that nurture our growth. This allows us to preserve our peace, enabling us to better serve our purpose and share our light with the world. Embracing solitude, a sacred space for reflection. At 40, I have come to deeply appreciate the gift of solitude. In my younger years, solitude was something I often avoided. I feared that being alone meant I was isolated, disconnected from others, and somehow lacking. Society often paints solitude as something to be feared, a void that must be filled with distractions, noise, or company. But as I've grown, especially through my study of Buddhism, I have come to understand that solitude is not loneliness. It is, in fact, a sacred space, a space for introspection, healing, and a deeper connection to the divine. The Buddha often retreated into nature or secluded places for meditation and reflection, teaching his followers that stillness is where the mind can truly settle and the soul can listen. I've come to see the truth in this. Solitude is not about being alone for the sake of it. It's about creating a sacred space where I can connect with my true self and with the universe. It is in these moments of stillness that profound clarity and insight arise, allowing me to better understand the direction my life is meant to take. Through my own journey, I've realized that solitude offers the quiet necessary for real transformation. It's during these quiet times that the external noise fades, and I am able to hear my inner voice clearly. I begin to reconnect with the essence of who I am, beyond the roles I play and the external expectations I once tried to live up to. Solitude has become a space where I can reflect, heal, and allow the deeper wisdom within to emerge. Buddhism teaches us the importance of mindfulness and meditation, both of which are deeply connected to moments of solitude. Through these practices, we are able to observe our thoughts without attachment and gain insight into the true nature of our mind. By embracing solitude, I have cultivated a deeper sense of mindfulness, allowing me to live more intentionally and authentically. Buddhist wisdom. In Buddhism, solitude is seen as a key element of mindfulness and enlightenment. The Buddha himself would retreat into solitude for deep meditation, teaching us that inner peace can only be found when we turn inward. Solitude provides the space needed for self-reflection, allowing us to break free from the distractions of the world and connect to our true nature. The Buddha taught that through meditation and solitude, we can free ourselves from the illusions of the ego and experience the present moment fully. In solitude, we find a place where we can truly observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, which is the first step toward awakening. The practice of mindfulness in solitude allows us to develop wisdom, compassion, and a deep sense of interconnectedness with all beings. Living for yourself, embracing your true path. For many years, I lived according to the expectations of others, family, society, and even my own inner critic. I let these external pressures shape the decisions I made and the path I followed. I tried to please others, to fit into a mold that was never truly my own. Whether it was choosing a career path, defining my worth by achievements, or adhering to societal norms, I spent much of my life chasing an idea of success that wasn't aligned with my true self. But by 40, I came to a profound realization. I must live for myself. I must honor my own desires, passions, and purpose. It was at this stage in life that I understood that true freedom emerges when we stop living for others and start living for ourselves. The Buddha teaches us that we must live in alignment with our Dharma, our true path, and that when we live in harmony with our own nature, we experience peace, joy, and fulfillment. This is exactly what I've started to do, and it has been one of the most transformative shifts of my life. Living for myself doesn't mean being selfish or disregarding others. Rather, it means acknowledging that my life's journey is mine alone to navigate. It means embracing my unique qualities, understanding my inner calling, and choosing the path that resonates with my soul, rather than one dictated by the expectations of others. When we live according to our Dharma, we align with our deepest truth and purpose, and we find that the external pressures that once seemed so overwhelming start to lose their grip on us. The Buddha teaches that we all have a unique purpose, and by walking in alignment with that purpose, we are able to experience the true freedom that comes from living authentically. I've learned that freedom is not about escaping from responsibilities, but about embracing my true self, unencumbered by the fear of judgment or the weight of expectations. Buddhist wisdom. In Buddhism, Dharma refers to the teachings of the Buddha and the path to enlightenment, but it also signifies each person's true purpose or calling in life. The Buddha taught that when we align our actions with our Dharma, we experience the peace that comes from living with integrity, compassion, and wisdom. To live in harmony with our Dharma is to embrace our uniqueness and live authentically. The Buddha also teaches that attachment to external desires and societal expectations often leads to suffering because it disconnects us from our true nature. To walk the path of liberation is to release the need for validation from outside sources, and to find our true worth within. By walking our Dharma, we begin to understand that true freedom arises from within, from aligning with our deepest truth. So, as we wrap up today's journey, I hope you feel inspired to embrace the wisdom, clarity, and purpose that emerge when you allow yourself to truly awaken. Life at 40 is not about the end of something, it's the beginning of a new chapter of freedom, authenticity, and spiritual growth. As you move forward on this path, remember that the struggles and challenges of the past have been preparing you for the incredible transformation ahead. I encourage you to take a moment today to reflect on your own life's journey, to embrace the awakening that is already unfolding, and to step fully into the power that lies within you. If this video resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to Buddhist Motivation and hit the notification bell so you never miss another step in this transformative journey. Thank you for joining me today. I can't wait to see you in the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into embracing our spiritual paths and living authentically. Until then, may your journey be filled with peace, clarity, and purpose.